Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jorge Ferraez, and I am the publisher of Latino Leaders Magazine. Well, everybody, welcome. My name is Jorge Ferraez, and I am the publisher of Latino Leaders Magazine. And I am very, very happy to welcome you to this, which is the seventh annual Latino Franchise Symposium. I need to say that this year, as last year, is a little bit different. Pre-COVID, we would have a very, well-attended event in the facilities and the campus of Pizza Hut up here north of Dallas in Plano, Texas. So we would have a good conference and a good gathering. And let me just give you, as a matter of introduction, the story how we started this event. And our magazine Latino Leaders is going to be 20 years this year of publishing. And one of the main objectives of the magazine is to connect people to produce productive or to enhance productive relationships and connections among the leaders of the U.S. Latino community. So in many years of doing stories and covering different areas and industries, we started working with some brands of the franchise industry. I want to say maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And those brands were very interested in reaching out to Latino entrepreneurs and Latino business owners and Latino operators that would be interested in growing their franchises and growing their brands and expanding their footprint in Latino communities. Um, Over the years, has been demonstrated by this industry that the most similar your operators are to the market that they are serving, they have these stores, these shops have a better performance and a higher productivity, all in all. So for many years, the industry has been very, very aware and have been enough strong strategies and outreach to find those groups and minorities and ethnicities that can match the places and the communities in which they are trying to expand with their new stores, or maybe old stores that are under a definition of the demographics of that area, or changes in the consumption habits or trends in some specific areas or cities or even industries. So that is why we started doing this event. And the first year we did it with Pizza Hut in their Plano headquarters, and it was only 40, 50 people there, and we were able to discuss very good ideas. But over the years, we have grown these. And I want to say pre-COVID in the year 2018, we had a very good attendance of almost 600 people going in and out on an entire day of conferences and panels. One of the most important characteristics of this event is that people are invited to come and share experiences. People are invited to come and talk about their own visions and talk about their own businesses and proposals and different stories they have to share with us, so all of us can learn from these markets and from this segment, this ethnic demographic segment that is very important for many brands to grow. And that is kind of the spirit of this event. But also, as a second very important aspect of this event, is that the amount of brands that we invite to get in touch with potential franchisees, with potential operators and people that are interested in this business. Over the years, we are also have, we have observed also a big trend in the amount of entrepreneurs that are interested in attending this event also and have been attending it for years. Many of them come every year searching for opportunities. And that is why we started also to expand the topics and expand the themes that we were covering. And now we are doing a very special effort, outreach effort, to invite entrepreneurs and people that have no experience, maybe as a franchisee operator, but they have, a lot of interest, and they have some desire or some curiosity to explore this kind of industry and this kind of business. So this is the main spirit of the Latino Franchise Symposium, and I really want to make sure that we are all connected and interested in these topics. And we have a fantastic program this week. We are going to be holding either pre-recorded or live panels this week, all the way from today to Friday, and we're gonna listen later on at one from an expert in brand equity, about how important are the brands for the franchise business. And then tomorrow we're going to start with someone talking about locations and commercial sites. And then later we're going to have a panel on how to how to finance a franchise business. And this panel is, we're doing it in collaboration with the Small Business Administration. They have been big lenders and big supporters of entrepreneurs starting franchise business for many years now. And then later, we're going to have a third segment tomorrow about the International Franchise Association, that organization that helps and has resources and educates some of us that are interested in this business. On Wednesday, we have a very catchy pitch about some new concepts of franchise that we are presenting to you. And then we are having some presenters from the Yum Brands company, one of our main sponsors this year, on what are the different aspects on what we are doing and presenting. And also what we are going to do on Wednesday, we're going to have a very interesting interview story with one of the most important entrepreneurs in the area here in Texas, the founder of El Pollo Loco and Taco Palenque, a very well expanded franchise, very interesting, especially these are Latino brands or that were supposed to appeal to the Latino consumer, and they have gone beyond. So it's a very interesting story with Mr. Juan Francisco Ochoa, and that's on Wednesday afternoon. And then we go to Thursday, and we're going to do a very interesting panel in the morning with Enrique Ramirez, the general manager for Pizza Hut in Latin America and Iberia, Spain. And then we are going to talk with him about his experiences trying to develop and expanding brands all over the world, because Enrique has been operating Pizza Hut in many places in the world, Asia, China, Latin America, US, and many more. And then after that, on Thursday, we're going to have a very interesting update chat with a friend of ours called Mike Lacosta. Mike is an expert in demographics for the Hispanic market. And on Friday, we're going to have a very interesting also panel with two marketers that are experts, advisors on how to market in the Hispanic communities and Hispanic market of consumers. And then later on, we're going to have a couple of entrepreneurs that are going to be participating with their stories. So we have a great program for you. And I just want to start saying thank you to all our sponsors. Firsthand to Yum Brands, Pizza Hut, KFC, and Taco Bell, and also now the Habit Grill Burgers, which are the new acquisition. And I'm sure James Fripp is going to talk to us about that in a little bit. but I want to say thank you to them. I also want to thank 7-Eleven, who has been supporting this event also for many years. Foley, our legal and legal services and advisor and partner, and also the Small Business Administration, and Avocados from Mexico, also a very important brand that is also expanding and trying to make inroads in the franchise business as well. So just a few things before introducing you to James Fripp and letting him start with his words. I just want to share that just a very, very quick reminder, Latinos are 17% of the population today, and the economy or the economic activity, the purchasing power of the Latino community is valued at roughly $2.3 trillion. By the year 2050, the projections are that Latinos will account for 29%, almost 30% of the US population, and they will add 1.4 trillion on top of those 2.3 trillion already to the economic activity that they will start doing. So that is why many brands and many companies are really going after this market and considering this market in their basic strategies to grow. Latino businesses also are and have been for many years the fastest growing in terms of starting new businesses at a pace of 34% an annual rate of growth, compared to some other parts of non-Latinos or non-diversity markets that are growing between 1 and 5% a year. So it's a big difference between the pace of new businesses in the Hispanic and Latino community. They are 70% of the business started in the Hispanic and Latino community are started with capital and money that is coming from their own savings and friends and family. 70%. That's a very impressive amount or number compared to others, and only 6% of the Latino and Hispanic businesses, owned businesses, are started by a supported by a financial institution or from a commercial loan. Here is when we see the opportunity and the room to grow that financial institutions, banks, private equity capital firms, and many others trying to support new ventures and startups and new companies in this market. This is a huge opportunity. So Latinos also have a very big entrepreneurial spirit, and we can say now that from every 100,000 Latinos in our country, 510 will become an entrepreneur every single month. That's also an impressive figure. Let me repeat it. So for every 100,000 business owners or Latinos in this country, 510 every month will become an entrepreneur. That's impressive. And of course, they used to attend less financial institutions, as I said, and more into their own private savings and own money, friends and family. So this is just to tell you how important for us has been trying to keep up with this strategy over these 2 years that have been difficult with the COVID situation. Hopefully, we can go back to do in-person event next year. We have all our hopes there, and it will be great to see faces again and have those chats and close for opportunities and introductions. But in the meantime, Latino Leaders Magazine and my team, we have prepared a sensational, great week of content for this week. And all of you interested in this business will be able to learn a big deal this week with our guest speakers and panelists. And now I am very, very happy and also thankful to introduce my good friend and for many years. And he also is the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer of Young Brands, my friend James Fripp. James, welcome, and thank you again for your support and for co-hosting this event with us.
Great, thank you, Jorge, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you today, and we'll be with you throughout the week as well. It has just been such a interesting year, and so many things going on. But we are here. We've been here since the beginning with Jorge, and we plan on continuing to be here. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to just quickly, if I could, just play a real quick 1-minute video that just gives you a little bit of insight into who we are. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and play this video for you. All righty, so I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of who we are. To Jorge's point a little bit earlier, we are Taco Bell, we are KFC, we are Pizza Hut, and we are now the Habit Burger Grill as part of our family. And we are so excited to have the Habit Burger Grill with us. And when we think about the opportunities that are out there to franchise, this creates just one more opportunity for us in the business to franchise. And so we're excited for that. In my time in partnership with Jorge, we have just been literally in this environment where we are very focused. We're very focused on finding more diverse talent, more diverse franchisees. And in fact, I just want to let you know that we have successfully leveraged this platform, the Latino Franchise Symposium, to indeed find franchisees. An individual who immediately comes to mind is Eduardo Diaz, who is a very great franchisee with us today. Started off with some stores in Chicago and has continued to build his organization with us. And that's a result of this particular franchise symposium with Jorge and Latino Leaders magazine. And so I say that to say it works. And this partnership works, and it has worked for us, and we continue to look forward to this partnership continuing to work. Now, what I also wanted to do was I also wanted to just share a little bit with you all about what we are looking to do in our organization. And if I share this slideshow with you here just really quickly, when we think about our strategy, and I share this with you to be fully transparent around where are we trying to go, what are we trying to do, and I want to show you and highlight for you that we are serious about where we're going in this notion of more diverse franchisees. The space that I work in is equity, inclusion, and belonging, or diversity and inclusion known in many other companies. Now, when we think about equity, inclusion, and belonging, we talk about this notion of it being critical to being read. And there's a lot of things on the screen here. We talk about how we want to embed equity and inclusion into our organization and all that we do, whether it's in our coach capabilities, in our onboarding of people in development, and in our marketing. We want to engage our people in equity and inclusion and belonging because it's important. What we've seen over the last year is this whole notion and this outpouring of interest, engagement, and want and need by not only us, but many other companies to make sure we're representative of the communities that we live and work in. And so we want to engage all of our communities and all of our stakeholders along the way. We want to retain talent, and that's in our third pillar there. But what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take a look at the attracting talent, at the attraction pillar there on the far right. And in there, it talks about we want to attract more full-time diverse talent. We want to have internships and things of that nature. But look at that third bullet. Look at that third bullet. And this is what's been shared across our enterprise with our CEO, with myself, around the globe. We want to attract more diverse franchisees, which is the reason that we're here with you today. This is a serious opportunity for us, and it's a serious engagement for us. And we are very, very focused on making sure that we do that. And so I just wanted to take a moment and let you all know that we're not here for fun. We're not here to just say that we were here. We're here to make a difference in the customers and in the stakeholders and in the communities that we serve. And that includes the Latinx or the Latino community as well. So I just wanted to make sure that you all know that it's focused on throughout our organization. So I'll stop sharing at this moment and just talk with you a little bit about what does that look like? What it looks like, and Jorge referenced this a little bit earlier in his comments, in the fact that we've got Enrique Ramirez, who's going to be joining you later on this week. He's done a phenomenal job of running, not only working in our US business, but also now working in our international business and working very, very diligently to make sure that we are highly represented and successful in our international markets, especially with our Latino communities in our Latin American business. The other thing that we're doing is we are really working hard to make sure that we engage in a way that is going to help engage, retain, and attract more folks who are of different descents and different backgrounds. And in fact, we are very focused on making sure that we create opportunities. And so we've created an entirely new franchise recruitment and development center that's based in our Yum business. And so again, when you think about, are we serious? Are they committed? What is Yum doing to attract Latino and Latinx franchisees to our organization, as well as African American and Black franchisees and women to our organization? We are really making this a very, very serious focus going forward. And so what I'd like to do is please, Jorge, open it up to any questions that you have or any insights that you'd like me to share regarding this space. But again, I just want to say thank you for having me. We here at Yum Brands, with all of our brands, Taco Bell, KFC, Pizza Hut, and the Habit Burger Grill, are excited to be with you today, and we look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you, James. Thank you. I really appreciate that, and yeah, we're very proud to work and keep trying to get new initiatives and explore new markets and people and all that. But I think one of the very interesting qualities, in the meantime, to see, we're going to see if someone is interested in asking a question or raising a hand. But one of the interesting qualities of Yum Brands, and I think this is a very accurate, maybe statement, is that you actually made it very well through the pandemic and through the COVID situation. Could you share with us a little bit of that, and how was your company able to go through and come from it really fortified and with a vision and with some new force, refreshed energy?
Yes. Don't get me wrong, it's been a difficult year. So it's been a difficult year, but we are very thankful that we've come through the way we have. And when you think about opportunities in our organization, in our business, in the quick service restaurant business, a lot of times what happens when the economy is good, we're good. And when the economy struggles, we're actually better. we're actually better. And what I mean by that is when people have a lot of disposable income or a lot of money that they can use for different things, they come and visit us because we have legacy brands, whether it's Pizza Hut, whether it's Taco Bell, whether it's KFC. Those brands are familiar brands, and they offer comfort when things are great. When things are a little bit more difficult, like we have over this past year, when maybe people have lost jobs and things of that nature, people still have a want and a need to eat out and to partake of different types of food all throughout the year, even though they may be in a difficult situation. What happens is with our brands, we are affordable to all customers on almost any given day. And that has allowed us to come through this space, through this time, this difficult time, and many others very successfully. Now, what we've done during this past year is our first and foremost goal was to make sure that our consumers and our employees were safe. And we started there. We started with making sure that everybody had, we had proper PPE, personal protective gear, that we made sure all of our folks were safe. We made sure that we had hand sanitizer. We made sure that we had masks. We made sure that our food safety and food quality never wavered. We've always kept our highest quality and highest safety top of mind all throughout this time. What it forced us to do, though, was to figure out what are some different ways that we can make sure we still are able to serve our customers. From a Pizza Hut perspective, what that looked like is curbside. You were able to come and not have to come into the store and get your pizza. When our delivery drivers went out, our delivery drivers had full protective gear and had on masks when they delivered the food. In fact, they delivered the food to your porch without having to engage you at all. And so we did everything that we could to make sure that our employees and our customers are safe while still giving a great product. In our restaurants, in our Taco Bell restaurants, we effectively were set up for success by having the drive-through. So we closed the dining rooms, but then we pivoted our drive-throughs to make sure that there was little to no contact in any way, shape, or form as it pertains to making sure that you were still able to come and feel good about being able to safely engage with the consumer and with our employees, while also getting the product that you need and wanted. And so we did that. And we did that in a number of different ways, whether it was literally contactless food delivery through the drive-through. You'll notice you go through and person will stick out the credit card, and you slide the credit card in, and we never touch it. We never touch you, and we move forward. What we found was in our KFC business is that our KFC food was some of the most comforting food during these difficult times. And our ability to have our drive-throughs there also set us up for success. So people were able to feel good about who we were from a cost perspective, but also from a comfort and product perspective, food safety perspective as well, and also an employee safety perspective. We were able to give the consumers what they needed in a difficult time, which the only thing that did for us is really just reaffirm for people that we are good for you, we are safe for you, regardless of the situation. And that's how we've come through. And in fact, our Pizza Hut business is doing better than it has in a long, long time as a result of this past year and being able to pivot in such a way that it was able to support our consumers the way that they wanted to be supported. Our KFC brand is doing very, very well. And our Taco Bell brand, they are always doing great. So we feel like we've done very well. Now, we did have a little bit more of a challenge with our Habit Burger Grill because they were a primarily eat-in business, but they were able to navigate that as well. And then finally, what I would share with you is that all of our brands played a huge role in making sure that we helped support our frontline medical staffs, whether that was donating food to the hospital for medical staff, delivering food to the hospital for medical staff, and our doctors and nurses and those who've been on the front lines. So we're very proud of that and look forward to continue to do that. So that's how we've made it. We're excited about it. We're coming out of, well, I won't say coming out of COVID. We're evolving through COVID successfully here, and we feel very, very good about our future. But again, when the economy is good and when things are good, we're good. When there's challenges and trials and tribulations, we're actually even better. So we're excited about that.
That's great. That's a great story. That I think is one of the things that makes your company a great company. We have a question from someone regarding financing, and she is asking us, can you speak more about any particular efforts you're taking to help Latinx entrepreneurs obtain financing?
Yes, great. Thank you for the question. So we actually have a minority franchising program. And in that program, what we do is we help to support our minority franchisees when they bring the offer, when we come with the offer of what our franchisees that are available. An individual may not have all of the requirements to get inside the organization, depending upon what brand it is. In a number of cases, what we've done is we've said, okay, great. The person can get so far towards the what the requirements are, but they may need a little help in terms of maybe a guarantee that we at the brand or at Yum would guarantee the difference if there was a gap there, allowing the individual to get into the organization. We're also currently working on a number of different financial support mechanisms that will give some flexibility, more flexibility than we've ever had in the past, around helping people get into the organization via financial support, connecting folks to some of our lenders, and leveraging different means to make sure that we get that representation that we're looking for. But our primary mechanism has been our minority franchising program.
That's great, because many, well, not many, but some brands have these programs to help specifically, minorities or diverse groups, and that is always very useful because, as we were mentioning at the beginning, many of these communities are the less likely to be attracted by a financial institution to be lent, and that is why, for example, SBA I think is important and relevant when it comes to start a venture like acquiring a franchise or partnering with a franchise brand. I want to ask you something, James, because it's important. We don't see yet these kind of strategies of diversity and inclusion that you have, that Yum have. What is, if we want to understand what's behind that, what is the real benefit for corporations and companies like yours to have in place these kind of strategies of including, making your face friendlier to the diversity and minority groups?
Yes. Well, for us, it's it literally, if we look at our restaurants have a high incidence of formerly known as underrepresented minorities. What we are choosing to say today is underrepresented people of color. And that includes our Latinx community, our Black community, and others. But we are choosing to use the words underrepresented people of color. Why? Because we are people. And we are valuable. We have value, and we add value to the communities that we live and work in. And so we've chosen to not only change our words, but change our mindset. But our words are now underrepresented people of color. But why this matters is because the future of here in the United States specifically is around those people of color. We are going to become the majority in the not too distant future. Why that matters today is because we need leaders of the future who look like you and I. We need those folks in our business today so they can help us with, what do we need to know about these different communities? How can we better serve these different communities? And then most importantly, in order for us to recruit talent of color in the future, our talent of culture, our talent of, our underrepresented people of color need to see people who look like you and I in leadership levels if they are going to choose to come and work for us. And why that matters? If we are not relevant to these communities, we will not be in business. It's that simple. And so it's important to us because it's literally the success of our business going forward. What we know from some great information that I'm sure Mike LaCosta, who you mentioned we'll be sharing with you later in the week. But what we know from some of Mike's insights is that you can't just look at James as a African-American or a Black male. You can't just look at Jorge as a Latinx man. You have to understand all of our culture and all of the cultures that we may connect and engage with. And so what used to be something where you were just, James was Black and we just need to make sure we take care of him as a Black male. No, no, no. You need to take care of James and all that it makes him up, which is multiple different communities. And so what we're learning is when you understand that point, then you understand how to be more relevant, which then helps you be more successful. So for us, this whole notion of diversity, inclusion, or equity and inclusion and belonging, as we talk about it here at Yum, is about setting up the business for future success by having all cultures being represented in the organization, especially as you get up through leadership. What we know in our restaurants, which by the way is where I came from, I ran restaurants for us. I literally started outside of a Taco Bell picking up trash and sit where I sit today. I did that because someone cared about me. We looked at people who look like me and who look like you and said, I believe they have capability to do more. And as a result of that, I've been able to literally do just that and make my way through the organization to where I'm at today. Said differently, we are committed to making sure that we give Latinx, African-American, and other people of color, as well as women, opportunities to be successful in our organization, because we know if we don't, our organization will not succeed.
Thank you, James. We have 5 more minutes and we have one question here regarding how do you see the future of this part of the economy? You already mentioned that in different and challenging times and bonanza times, but you know, many of the businesses of the Latino community are in service. Food service, one of those. It's very important. So you as a big corporation, you have analysts, you have economists, you see the world as a global thing and not, you know, just local. What can you share from the vision that you and your company have for the future? Is this going to be a good opportunity this year, next year? Is it going to keep growing? How do you see it?
Yes, yes. So we believe that our future lies in continued development. So we want to continue to develop our business both here in the United States as well as globally. And what we know, watching the demographics of not only the United States, but of North America holistically, of Latin America, of Asia, Africa, and things of that nature, we know that there's still a lot of runway for us to continue to grow this business. And so we're very excited about the opportunity to continue to develop our business, all of our brands and brands that we may acquire in the future. And so we are not so just focused on the fact that we have our 4 brands today. We are always looking for great opportunities to continue to grow this business. Today, it's the 4 brands in the restaurants. It will continue to be, we'll continue to look at brands that we may be able to pick up and continue to grow at things of that nature. But what we know about people is what they want from a food perspective is they want options. And we continue to offer those options for them, which is why we have the multiple brands that we do, which is why we see all of Yum the way it is because we offer people options. And when we offer people options and we do so in a way that they feel great about that, they can come to our drive-through, we can deliver them to our homes. We have delivery through all of our what we call aggregators now. And so you can order online from Taco Bell and have it come to your house, or any of the other brands as well. And so we are going to continue to evolve the business to meet the needs of the consumer. But what we do not see our business becoming old and antiquated and people not wanting to be a part of this business. Again, they want options, they want convenience, and equally, if not more importantly, they want food that is great quality, yet affordable.
Very quickly, before we go, we still have 3 minutes before we change. We have another question from the first person that saying the question, saying, does Young participate in any franchise education programs or community programs to help encourage minority groups to pursue small business ownership?
So the short answer is we've got some big news that will be coming out very shortly on this topic. We have cemented a partnership that will allow and we will encourage underrepresented people of color to leverage this program, that we are doing just that. We are helping teach people what is franchising, how to go about it, what are things that you need to know, how to be successful in it. And this falls under something called our Unlocking Opportunities Initiative, And what that is this past year, after the murder of George Floyd, what we said was we are going to commit $100 million to making sure we support underrepresented people of color and communities. We want to spend $100 million or invest $100 million in unlocking opportunities as it pertains to equity and inclusion, education, and then finally entrepreneurship. And in that entrepreneurship pillar is where this program that we are going to be announcing here over the next 3 weeks is going to literally create a template for how to get educated on franchising, for how to be successful in franchising. And in fact, our goal is to have people go through this program and become franchisees with us. And I'm sure there'll be other folks that will be recipients of franchisees from this exact same program. But yes, the answer is yes. We are about to announce a program that's designed to support underrepresented people of color in building and owning franchises of the future.
Well, that's great. Great answer, and we'll look forward to know more about those programs, because they're so important for all communities, but especially for the Latino community. That we know all of them want to explore new things all the time, and become entrepreneurs and start businesses all over. Yes. So well, with these, I just want to say thank you, James, and ask you if you want to add something else at the end. But this will conclude the first segment of our strategy of the Latino Franchise Symposium. This week we are going to start. We're going to be hosting in 5 minutes from now the second segment for this morning, which is with Lawrence Newell, director at Brand Finance, talking about brand equity, very interesting part of the franchise business. But in the meantime, James, I really want to thank you for your support, your company, your executives, always willing to share with us different things and experiences and knowledge. So thank you for all that, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for your partnership. We started this 6 years ago. 7 years now, and I tell you, each year, it never ceases to amaze me, and the evolution that you continue to work on and continue to bring forward is been paying dividends. And so, thank you for your leadership, Jorge. Thank you all for having me today, and I look forward to chatting with you all in the future. Take care.
Excellent. Thank you, James, and thank you to all of you. We'll be back in 5 minutes. All right. Well, thank you again, all of you watching and participating in this Latino Franchise Symposium digital strategy that we're having. We're very happy to have you all, and hopefully any of these discussions and participation of our panelists and speakers can really bring some light and some ideas on you, so you can maybe start your business or expand or explore opportunities. And one of those things that are very, very important always is in the franchise business is the brand. And the brand is one of those, probably the biggest asset, I would say, of a franchise business, along with the know-how. Because when you partner with a brand to be a franchisee, you get two very important things. One is the know-how. In the case, for example, Pizza Hut, which is discussed, is you know all the technical details and all the things on how to produce the products, the food, the pizzas, the wings, everything they sell, that is, you know, standard to meet the quality and to meet the real offer of this client to you. But a second thing that you get is is that brand, that image of the brand, and that logo, that name that has been built for many, many, many years. And now it has a reputation, and now it has a value, and now it has it is an asset that you can rely on. And when you open your store, when you go and start business, you will have something to show. So in this matter, I am very privileged and very happy to bring with us today a very good friend also, Lawrence Newell. Lawrence is a veteran of 25 years in this business. He has worked with brands of more than 14 different countries all over the world. And he's been specializing in brand building, brand equity, corporate identity, packaging, marketing, and in very different sectors and markets, diverse. He's the head and managing director of brand finance for the Americas. And he will explain to us a little bit what is that position mean and entitles for him for his job. And Lawrence, as I understand, is from Mexico, and he, previous to joining this activity, he was doing some retail banking, or has some retail banking experiences in banks in Mexico, especially. And also, Lawrence holds the representation for Mexico in front of the ISO technical committee, and he will also explain to us that. Lawrence, thank you for being with us here. Thank you for your time and your concepts. I welcome you to this Latino Franchise Symposium.
Jorge, it's such a pleasure and an enormous honor to be here with you guys, with Latino leaders and the Latino Franchise Summit. I understand this is your 7th year, and I also know that every year these types of summits just get better and more valuable to your audience. So thank you, Jorge, to you, and thanks for the audience that's joined today. I'm really happy to dwell further in on the importance of brand, and really what I'd like to do, given the opportunity with you today, is talk to you about 4 big things that are central to my life in working with brands. As you said, I've worked with brands for over 25 years, and I've worked both with B2B brands and B2C brands, and with a very, very strong focus in the B2C sector in retail and in the restaurant industry. So I hope that what I have to share with you guys today is valuable, and I certainly don't intend this to be a monologue either. So if you have questions, if you have comments, feel free to ask. No? So if, without further ado, if you'll allow me, I'm gonna share my screen with you, just because I think that a lot of what we do in brands is so visible and so graphic that I'll put this on screen share now. Do you see my blue screen, I imagine, right? Okay, so basically what we've prepared to do is four big concepts that I want to share with you today when talking about brands. First, I'd like to touch briefly on what we mean by brand, because I think that there are a lot of misconceptions as to what a brand is, and certainly from the franchise purpose or from the franchise point of view, I agree entirely with you, Jorge, that really what you're buying as a franchisee, or if you're a franchisor, what you're offering is both know-how and brand. And if you're interested in investing in brands or in a franchise, really what your franchisor is bringing to the table is the ability to operate and the know-how behind that, but also the power and the opportunity to leverage brand. We'll talk a little bit more about why brands matter and the role that brands play in driving choice and decision making. And then last but not least, we'll touch a little bit on what makes brands tick and what is it that we, as a company, brand finance as a brand valuer and a brand evaluator, is looking for when we determine how strong a brand it actually is. So having said that, if I were just to touch briefly on what the American Marketing Association defines brand as, it's really the sum of parts. It goes above and beyond the logo. I mean, some people will consider your brand a name, a sign, a symbol, the design behind a brand, but really it's the combination or the sum of all the touch points that a brand has with its audiences, with its stakeholders, with the intention of identifying itself, its product, its service, okay? And more importantly, not only identifying, but differentiating, okay? So it's one thing is to create awareness, but the other thing is to create a differentiated value proposition. And what we do know is that strong brands at the essence aren't only recognized, but they are clearly differentiated from a set of competitors. So identification and differentiation are essential themes to brand related work that we do. Now, you mentioned the brand strength, and basically what we're doing when we measure brand strength, and that's what we're doing, is we're actually putting a grade the way that credit analysts put a grade on a stock. We're putting a grade on a brand's strength. So we've seen brands that go from AAA+ all the way to C-. Okay, and really what we're measuring is in brand strength is its efficiency and the efficacy of a brand's performance on certain measures relative to its competitors. So a lot of what we do when we're called by either franchisors and franchisees, which both have been our clients in the past, is to help them benchmark to make sure that all things being equal, that we have a clear understanding of not only what makes a brand different, but what makes a brand stronger and why, and more importantly, how to close the gap between where we are today and where we're going. And as a company, we've had the opportunity to work with both owners of the brand that want to use brand strength and brand valuation as a communication tool to investors, such as maybe a lot of the people that are in the audience today. Basically, they want to use our data and our point of view to explain why one brand is a better investment than the other brand. But likewise, our franchisees or investors have been clients of ours who perhaps are performing a bit of due diligence, and they want to understand what brand is going to provide the highest return on investment and how long will it take for that investment to be paid back. So central to what we do, obviously in brand related work, are those two themes. Now, there's one other last theme that I want to share with you before we continue with definitions, and we're almost finished with defining what brands are and terminology and the glossary is what we call brand value. And what brand value is literally the net present value of earnings specifically related to reputation or to brand reputation. So what we do as a company is both offer a perspective on what makes a brand strong, and equally, given that strength and given the financial strength and the financial projections of a company, what brand is most valuable and what to do with that value and how to understand that value. So that's a bit about what I wanted to share with you regarding definitions as we go forward. Now, I've been doing this, as you said, Jorge, for almost 25 years. I've been placing a value on brands, and there's always one quote that I always lean on and I always think is important to share with different audiences. And this quote is probably 100 years old. That's how long brands have been in the daily language of the business world. John Stewart, who was the former CEO of Quaker, said, I think in the late 1800s, okay, he has this famous quote that says, if this business were to split up, I would give you the land and the bricks and the mortar, and I would take the brands and all the trademarks associated with it, and I bet you that I would fare far better than you, okay? And I'll make that same, analysis today. If you were the owner of Coca-Cola, I would ask you, what would you rather own? The recipe and the brand, okay? Or would you rather own the factories and the transportation system and the delivery system behind that, okay? Chances are that in the long run, the brand, that famous Coca-Cola recipe, will outlive us all. And by contrast and by comparison, those factories, those bricks and mortar, that land will probably be devalued. So we often see as brand as being one of the few assets that actually gains value over time, as opposed to other assets that tend to lose value. Now, brands are important, okay, as seen from different stakeholders for different reasons, okay? Obviously, brands are important for customers or for clients or for consumers, okay? Because strong brands tend to generate higher sales volumes, okay? I would bet my last bottom dollar that a brand like Pizza Hut, okay, has got very high awareness and can probably generate higher sales volumes and higher price premiums as well to a lesser known brand, okay? So for customers or for consumers, strong brands tend to generate more revenue, okay? And also tend to, on the average, command a higher price. So the business impact that brands usually have to do with revenues and lower costs, okay? Likewise, companies that own stronger brands usually have a higher effect on lowering prices from suppliers. There are so many people, so many suppliers out there that want to have the privilege of saying, yes, I sell ingredients to these brands, okay? That in itself is a source of pride for that supplier. So actually the brand owner is benefiting from a lower cost probably in that case, okay? James Fripp a few minutes ago spoke about the impact of brand on attracting and retaining talent. People, especially as they come into the labor force, want to work for better brands. They want to work for stronger brands. There are brands out there that just by virtue of their name alone seem to attract the best and brightest. Think of the Harvards and the Yales and the Ivy Leagues, okay? At the end of the day, they're educating, but really what's behind them is brand equity, okay? Think of the Accentures and the McKinseys and the Goldman Sachs, okay? Those people have probably an easier job of attracting talent just by power of their brand. So we know that brands play a very, very big role in attracting new talent or better talent. Obviously, brands can play a role with financiers, with banks. I've had the opportunity to work on 2 IPOs, initial public offerings, in which the brand owners really wanted to understand the brand equity that was behind the brand that was about to go public. If anything, just to be able to convince, okay, the investment consumer or the investment community, okay, that there is an investment in brand and that there is an understanding of what role brand plays in generating new consumers or new customers. So for the financiers and for the investors in general, they play a big role. Now, Jorge, one of the things that you said at the beginning of the conversation is near and dear to my heart as well, which is brand as an asset. And as a company, Brand Finance values some 5,000 brands per year across the globe. So we know a thing or two about what makes brands tick. We also know what proportion brands tend to be of a business value or an enterprise value. And we know, for example, that brands are in many cases the most valuable assets in a company, okay? And they can come up to almost 20% of business value. So if you look at the sum of parts of an enterprise or of a business, okay, brand and brand value can almost be anywhere from a quarter, okay, to maybe a fifth of the enterprise value that we generally see. And particularly in the franchise business, that certainly is the case. Now, we also know that brands come, okay, with certain association. And right now, James said something that I thought was very interesting, which was brands offer comfort. We also know that brands offer clarity. And we know that brands also communicate very clearly associations and aspects that are very important to consumers. So when you think of Rolex, for example, you almost immediately think of proof of quality. When you think of supermarket chains, you could think of a brand such as Trader Joe's as being the epitome of differentiation in the market. When you think of proof of origin, avocados from Mexico, which is probably the brand that has probably been on the lips of more marketers in the last 2 or 3 years than any other brand, okay, also matter to consumers or also matter to customers. Brands are riddled with association. So if you think of the brand Volvo, you immediately think of safety. And then the Coca-Colas obviously go without saying that brands ease decision making. So brands to consumers, whether independent of the industry or independent of the market that they cater to, come riddled with association and come charged with basically certain ideas, certain predisposed ideas that we have of consumers of those properties in order to differentiate primarily. Now we mentioned a little bit about the importance to brands and investors. We annually basically measure, okay, basically the value of brands, okay, and what we see is that when you take our top 10 most valuable brands and you divide brand value by enterprise value, okay, there is usually a higher proportion in that gap, okay, in that brand strength compared to, for example, the average of the S&P 500. So strong brands usually outperform, okay, normal or average brands from an investor point of view. They usually provide higher returns, okay. Lately, we've also seen brands playing a big role contributing to society. So you take, for example, a brand such as Burger King, who was a very, very aggressive marketer, a very, very strong advertiser, has gone out to take stances, for example, on LGBTQ. So even, for example, when selling Whoppers, it's almost, how do you not take advantage of this, but how do you say that you support this? To what extent do you support this? Okay, brands such as Tom's, the shoes, for a long time, their value proposition was for every brand, every purchase that you make of one pair of shoes will offer a pair of shoes free to a child in need. So brands daily are playing a more active role in society. And it's in the manner that they are able to prove that value proposition and convince that they are actually serious about it and that they're putting their money where their mouth is, that people start to begin to believe more in brands. Now, we've spoken a lot about brand and brand strength. If I were sitting in the audience as a potential investor in a franchisee, an investor in a brand or a franchise, one of the things that I'd want to know, as Jorge said, is, basically what am I going to get from the point of view of know-how, and what am I going to get from the point of view of brand? Okay. And what we do is when we are engaged by our clients and we want to understand brand strength, we want to understand what makes a brand tick, and we want to measure its strength. We'll look at a brand through these three big lenses. The first one we'll call investment. A brand, just like a business, requires investment, okay? And a lot of the analysis that we're doing is understanding what proportion of that investment is going to drive brand equity, or let's call it brand impact on consumers. So a good deal of our focus has to do with understanding how much and where and how efficient is the brand owner being in investing dollars to build brand. But more importantly, we want to know what impact that's having in driving consumer equity. Okay, and consumer equity is the lifeline. It's the lifeblood of a brand. Understanding what makes a brand tick and what impact it has in generating preference, in generating satisfaction, in generating loyalty, in generating consideration. Those are just maybe 5 of the different things that we're measuring when we want to understand what impact that investment is having on franchisees or on consumers in general. We'll go into a little more detail coming up further. Now, the third and final analysis that we're doing is basically comparing financial performance. And basically our hypothesis is with higher brand equity, better brand performance, okay? So we want to understand, what impact is that equity having on market share? We want to understand what impact that brand is having on projected financial forecasts. We want to understand what impact that brand has on profit shares, profit contribution, margins. We want to understand what impact that brand is having basically on net promoter score. So different measures to inform, how strong a brand is and how it compares. Now, I want to give you a double click on that slide, okay, and show you a little bit of what it is that we're looking for in greater detail and greater granularity when we look at brands, for example, in the franchise sector, okay? And these numbers are illustrative. Do not pay no attention to the numbers that are there, okay, because they're fake, okay? I made them up for purposes of this presentation, but this is really what we're putting under the microscope, okay, when we look at a brand strength. So if you look at the far left, those 3 big buckets, brand investment, brand equity, and brand performance, okay, we want to understand, okay, at a very granular level, how a certain competitive set stacks up against each other, okay? And we're grading them. So that brand strength is measured out of a basis of 100 points. Think of it as a brand scorecard. So a quarter of the scorecard will have to do with how effective and to what impact that brand investment is being done, being performed, okay? And we'll look at good old-fashioned metrics in marketing, such as product development. We'll look at, geographic distribution. We'll look at the advertising and the digital promotional behind it. We'll look at whether it's a price leader or not. So think of the 4 Ps of marketing as being critical to our analysis of how to invest in a brand. More importantly is that brand equity. That's about half of our analysis. So as I said, we really, really want to understand how those competitors compare in generating customer equity, okay? So think of it as a third of the analysis is what impact are you having on Juan Pueblo, on John Smith, okay? What impact are you having on your customer in terms of awareness and familiarity? And the question is, do you know this brand, yes or no? What impact are you having on consideration? Is all things being equal, would you consider buying from this brand as opposed to this other brand? Preference, what brand do you prefer? And then more importantly, for example, is putting your good name behind a recommendation. What brand would you really willing to recommend to your mother to she go buy from? Then we look at it at other points. And for example, we'll look at it from a staff point of view. So we want to understand basically what impact is that brand having in attracting and retaining talent. We'll look at it from an external stakeholder standpoint. So we look at things, for example, as what impact is that brand having on the environment? What impact is that brand having on diversity measures? What impact is that brand having on reputation? And then last but not least is basically brand performance. So, basically I want to understand as an investor, who's going to generate more revenue. I want to understand who's going to generate better margins. I want to understand who's got a better financial forecast going forward. I want to understand who's got a bigger slice of the pie. And so I will grade each one of those investments the way that a financial analyst would would grade a stock to understand really who's who. Okay. And then basically what we'll do once we've run that analysis, the brand strength analysis, is we'll understand is, okay, well, given certain royalty rates or licensing rates in the open market, okay, who could command the highest royalty? And when we're doing our valuations, we'll basically take that royalty rate given the industry that the brand competes in, and we'll multiply it times their projected forecast and take it into perpetuity, which is a financial formula, and bring it back to a net present value and say, this brand is actually a better investment given the value of that brand. So that's a bit about how I go about making my living and the work that we perform. I want to just share with you maybe the top 5 most valuable brands in the franchise market. According to Brand Finance. So you'll have the usual suspects across the globe. So we're looking at, for example, a brand such as KFC in the open market as brand value is made up about $15 billion. Okay. Now, more importantly is that brand strength. Okay. We give that brand, for example, a AAA- rating, which is basically an 81 out of 100. Which tells me as an analyst, okay, above and beyond the value is there's actually very little risk associated with the KFC brand, or there is little risk associated with, for example, the Burger King brand. So I would think that I could sleep well at night, having known that just based on the strength of that brand, that they will continue to grow the business and they will generate a bigger customer franchise. So that's a bit about what I wanted to share with you guys today. I think in conclusion, before taking questions and answers, I mean, we certainly learned today that brands help identify and differentiate products and minimize risks, most importantly. That brands are often the most valuable assets in a company. Okay. The stronger the brand, usually the better the business results. I mean, we've measured that to we're blue in the face, and we can basically prove it over time. And basically what brand strength does is measure and helps inform licensees of future success of brand. So if I were in your situation and I was considering investing my money in starting a business, a franchise-related business, central to my decision-making would be really what is the strongest brand that I could put my money behind. So that's a bit about what we do and why we do it. Jorge, I don't know if I've that's been a mouthful. I don't know if you want to open it up for discussion.
Yeah,
no?
Of course. And no, I think it's very valuable, Lawrence. I never seen the perspective of the brands as in a business. You always say, wow, that brand is very well known and that's very popular here, or that that brand of stores for, I don't know, car parts, or for whatever, even gas stations. Oh, it's good, but you never realize and see the specific figures and value and proportion. But let me ask you something. In your experience, and you have a lot of experience in both in the Latin America and North America, what are the most common mistakes that brands do when it comes to either growing or expanding or transforming. We all know, a lot of stories, especially those who want, I mean, especially those who like the marketing, like myself. Many of us remember, failed experiments like the new Coke and things like that that were very global. But in your experience, what are the common mistakes that a brand can do that can devaluate their equity or maybe just harm the brand?
Certainly, that's a wonderful question, and it's really, really a relevant question. I think from the perspective of a brand owner, the biggest mistake you could probably make is not listen to your customer or listen to your consumer. I've worked with very big companies that just have very thin market research. And it's really the brands that go out to ask the most questions most often of their consumers, okay? Really what they think of those brands, okay? That actually at the end, in the long run, provide the strongest brands. So I think the first thing is listen to your consumers, understand your consumers, and to James' point, really understand that the world is not homogeneous. The world is made of multiple walks of life, multiple colors, multiple genders. I mean, it's no longer a one size fits all consumer by any means. So the better you understand what drives choice and what drives decision making, the better your brand could actually, provide a solution or a service or a need to those, to a solution to a need to those people. The other thing that I've seen that brands can sometimes do, and it certainly happened during the pandemic, is underinvest in marketing. Okay, I think that a lot of times companies, for example, especially when we hit hard times, are very quick to pull back investment. And what we're seeing right now, as we sort of evolve our way out of the pandemic, is that actually the brands that continued investing, okay, and I'm not saying added more money, I'm just saying maintained their money, are actually coming out of this pandemic better suited, okay, for what's next. Okay, so it might have hurt at the time of the height of the pandemic to write out checks to continue marketing, but really the return is going to be seen now as consumers, as clients, as people, as human beings come back into the world and remember why it is that they preferred one brand or the other. Okay, or if one brand chose to invest when other brands went away, well, lo and behold, there might be a new competitor there that we didn't even understand existed. So I think that not listening and not investing when needs to be invested are probably the two biggest mistakes that we often see.
No, I just want to remind our attendees and our participants that we are also, you can also see this streaming through our Facebook page, and we're getting a question through there that is, when it comes to new brands, especially in the Latino or Hispanic market, how can a small brand create value, and how long will it take? I guess the question, just to round it up a little bit, is we have many people interested also in launching new brands or rebranding certain things that are happening. One phenomenon in our Hispanic Latino community is that we have these mom and pop shops that have evolved and have grown maybe from one store to maybe 4 or 5 stores out there now, and they are now a little brand out there. I mean, they're not, of course, yet the Pizza Huts and the KFCs of the world, but they are starting to create that. So I guess this person is asking, how can we, concentrate on creating that value, and how long is usually taking to these brands to generate that value?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question, and it's we hear it often, particularly from entrepreneurs and startups and younger companies. I think that the general convention is the conventional wisdom, I should say, is that brand building is a long game. And what we mean by that is that it's very difficult to create brands overnight. I mean, brands take years of blood, sweat, and tears to build. I think that certainly with the advent of digital, it's sort of shortened the learning curve. It's sort of shortened that growth curve, undoubtedly, but still, it's really a matter of, in my opinion, three things across time. One is being clear what your value proposition is basically why are you relevant and how are you different? And I think that when you're trying things, it's easy to jump from one message to the other to see what hits quickest. But really, clarity in your value proposition across time is essential. Okay, I think that coherent, okay, is what you say you do is actually what you deliver at the end of the day. There's an old adage in branding, which is promise made, promise delivered is what builds brands. Okay, so not only do you want to be clear, but you want to be coherent in, walking the walk and talking the talk. Okay, so and that takes time. Okay, and that takes communication, and that takes messaging. Okay, I think the other thing is consistency. Brands have multiple touch points. So, traditionally you've had, the good old fashioned TV, radio, billboards to build brand. Now the media landscape is much more fragmented, and the barriers to use those medias, that particularly digital, is very low. So I think that because you're going to have multiple touch points, even as a small and growing brand, you want to make sure that you're consistent. Okay, that the message that you're saying on digital is the message that you're saying in store, and it's the message that you're saying in a print ad. So really it comes down to 3 C's over time: clarity, coherence, and consistency. Now, what percentage or what proportion of marketing of revenue do we usually see new brands investing in marketing? Anywhere from, I would say, 5 to 7% of your projected revenue to grow a brand. Okay, it'll diminish as your brand grows over time. But certainly when you're coming into the market and you're coming into the brand game, you probably do want to, overinvest. Okay, not invest, crazily, but you do want to. Launching a brand is more expensive. The investment is higher at the beginning than in the middle of a brand's life, without a doubt.
And when you say investing, Lawrence, what does that mean? I mean, what do the brands invest on? Like, I don't know, better signage in my store, or marketing campaigns, or having my logo redesigned by a, fresher, younger designer. What does it mean?
I think that the investment covers basically 3 big buckets of knowledge. Invest in understanding the market. Okay, first and foremost, invest on who's who in the market, who's doing what, really understanding their brand strategy, really defining your own brand strategy, but really understanding who's who. That's really, really important before you even think about logos, is really get a grasp, a solid grasp on basically what the competition and what the market looks like, and the market dynamics that really define that market. I would say, secondly, the most important investment will be on your brand strategy development. I mean, before we even get into, the sexy things like logos and shops, is really spend time in clearly defining and articulating your value proposition. Okay. And once you've analyzed the market, it's really spend the time defining and putting on paper what makes you relevant, what makes you different, what makes you credible. Okay. So we haven't even gone to market yet. Okay. And we're still investing time and money on defining what it is that makes you unique and what makes you tick. Okay. The next stage really has to do with what I always thought is the sexy part of branding and marketing, which is, okay, now let's play. Okay, what are we going to name this baby? Okay, what's the brand name going to be? And I think that brand name is actually can be a huge pitfall, because I think it's seen as something that's fun and it's creative in nature. But creating a name that is both strategic, that is easy to pronounce, that is easy to spell, and that is legally available is actually a big deal. Okay, so spending time on your name is important as your value proposition. And then comes the identity, basically your logo, your electronic media like your website and your phone apps and your social media pages, but also the hard assets such as your point of purchase. And so how things look like in the shop, in the restaurant, in the point of contact with that client. So as you can see, you probably have you have to juggle multiple responsibilities, because the brand will touch different points, trying to generate that awareness. But it really has to do with researching, it really has to do with defining, and it really has to do with designing what your brand is about.
I think it's a great point, because many people will say, well, how can I generate that identity, that brand? And what you say at the beginning is very, very true. You spend a lot of time building a reputation, building a name, building an identity, and sometimes you hurt it, or is hurt, and it takes a long time to recover that reputation and that identity, right, or the positive perception that you have in
Absolutely.
your markets. Now, you have also worked in Latin America, and you are director for the Americas of this brand finance company. Do you have any experience to share with us regarding how Latinos or how Latin Americans see the brand equity formula, as opposed to the folks in for example, in North America, or in Europe, or in other parts of the world?
I think that Latin America, it depends on each market, really. I mean, I've seen across the region very sophisticated marketers in Colombia. I've seen very sophisticated marketers in parts of Mexico, without a doubt, and particularly in consumer goods. So if you look at, I've always thought that in Mexico, particularly, for example, the marketers that are behind Mexican beer brands, the marketers that are behind tequila brands, okay, are probably some of the sharpest minds in the market. So I think that when you look at it from a regional perspective, I've always thought that Mexico, Colombia are quite similar in sophistication, particularly when it comes to consumer. Brazil is a very different world, and I'll be honest, I know it very little. And Argentina has probably got, pound for pound, the best advertisers, probably in the Hispanic world. I mean, no one does better TV 30-second spots than my friends in Argentina. So it depends on where you are. It's really, really cool. I'll give you actually a really cool anecdote, Jorge, because I know that you know him as well. One of my clients about 15 years ago was a company in Costa Rica called De Masa. And De Masa, what it did was basically it made potato chips and salty snacks. There was a brand manager at the time there whose name is Alvaro Luque, and he was a brand manager. He was a small guy, a young guy in Costa Rica selling potato chips and plantain chips to the world. Well, today he's the CEO of Avocados from Mexico. So it goes to prove that Latin America can offer the talent on the level to take a brand such as Avocados from Mexico to the Super Bowl. So it's the borders are crumbling. There are degrees of sophistication. I think that the Americans are very scientific about their marketing. They measure everything. And they really make a lot of decision making based on numbers, which makes every sense in the world. I think the Latinos, as the Latino culture is, or might be a little bit more, I'm not going to say improvised, but they go more with their gut instinct. Okay. But it all adds up at the end. I mean, it's you know, you have brands in Latin America, such as Corona and Dos Equis and Cuervo, which have come to the United States and really done very well because they've understood this market. And likewise, obviously, American brands that go to Latin America. I mean, if you can sell Taco Bell in Mexico City, you know how to market some food. So there is a lot to say about the abilities of each. You know?
I guess. Yeah, but you know, there are there's some other a lot of stories on different brands, and we're gonna have later this week in this event the creator of El Pollo Loco, who has a tremendous story because now it's a very big brand.
Sure.
You know, it competes with many of the chicken QSRs and all that. But I mean, I know there's different categories, fried chicken and not fried and things like that. But how they build that brand and how they expanded it and many others is really very interesting. And I think what you do and helping companies to understand the value and also the work that they need to do behind their brands to really count it that as a real asset in the future is paramount, because when you are developing a brand or you're developing a concept and then you want to sell it to franchisees, one thing they have to have is a brand. It is not just a nice name and a nice logo and things like that, but the brand itself is difficult, and that takes amount of time and work, right?
I really love what I do because I think it sits at the intersection of art and science. You know, brand is really very, it's got a lot about the artistic aspect of it, has really got to do with human emotion and what makes human beings tick. I mean, at the end of the day, we are satisfying a human need in what we sell, whether it's pizza or whether it's a car. We are solving someone's problem. Okay. But on the other hand, it's a science in the sense that, you know, you want to build businesses for the long run. And so being able to step back from it enough to say, okay, what do the next 10 to 15 years look like and how are we going to make money is really the science part of it. So it's really lies at the intersection of business and of art and science. I think this is marketing, really what we're doing at the end of the day.
All right. Well, Lawrence, I think we have had a tremendous experience with you today. Thank you very much for your experiences and concepts. I think we learned, at least me personally, I learned a lot, a great deal today about brand and brands, and you made obvious to all of us again that there's no simple thing as just a logo and a brand. It is complicated, and it can be a great real asset to all the brands and all the franchisors out there trying to expand into Latino markets. And there's other components there, but you know, a strong brand, well nurtured and well managed, and it can do really good things for you in the future. So thank you for joining us. I want to thank all our participants through Zoom and through Facebook and through all the channels that we're streaming these. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to conclude our activities for today, Monday, May the 10th, and we will start tomorrow again, Tuesday, May the 11th at 12 noon with that great presentation that I was talking to you about on the perfect site to start, or not to start, but to set a franchise business. as important as the brand, it is the location, right? And many people say location, location, location for the success of a franchise business. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. In the meantime, all of you can go to the LatinoLeadersFranchise.com website. You can see the recordings there after some time that we're going to upload all these recordings. You can click there. And also you can send messages to all of us. If you are interested in connecting with either James or Lawrence after their presentations, we will be happy to reconnect you with them. And well, invite your friends, and you have other people interested. This is going to be a great week to learn about the franchise business in the Hispanic community. So on behalf of Latino Leaders Magazine, I'm Jorge Ferraez, your host. Thank you again, Lawrence Newell. Thank you again, James Fripp, for your participation today. Thank you to all our sponsors. Young Brands, a great company. Also, avocados from Mexico, as Lawrence mentioned. Thank you, Foley, and thank you, 7-Eleven, and the SBA for partnering with us this year. And I look forward to see you all tomorrow. Thank you very much, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.